Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Questback webinar. Today, to talk about experience culture, and especially about experience culture in the times of COVID-19 crisis that is all around us at the moment. My name is Toni.Paloheimo. I define myself as a dreamer and as an explorer. A dreamer in a way that I think all journeys towards something starts from dreams. So we need to have dreams of different future than the world is today, and explorer in a way that is describing the way how we expect to get there. So in many cases, we don't have a straight line from A to B, but we need to try different paths and find our way through somewhat explorative means. That also, in a way, defines a little bit the approach that we have for experience culture today. It's not something that is 100% ready, but these are some ideas of what we've seen around us when we have worked with a lot of different clients, and seeing how those clients and how those organizations and how those individuals are able to create great experiences both within and outside of the organization's walls. So, to start from the very basics, it's always good every now and then to pause for a little while and think what some fundamental words mean that we are regularly and intuitively using. So, what does culture actually mean? Of course, there are multiple different dictionary definitions for culture. Oxford Dictionary gives us one and relates it to attitudes and behaviors within a particular social group. Merriam-Webster, on the other hand, defines it as a set of shared attitudes, values, goals, and practices, again, within a particular social group. That can be an institution or an organization. In our case, when we are talking about cultures, we are mostly talking about those in the organizational context. I would like to highlight the fact that culture actually lives in human interactions. What we believe and what is our attitude and what we value is only visible to others when we are one or the other way expressing it. It can be something written, it can be something said, it can show in our actions that we do. It can even be a small thing like a facial expression. But one way or the other, it requires an interaction, some kind of a communication between two people. And a colleague of mine, Andrew from UK, has had an interesting way of talking about behavioral. And his statement is that a lot of the organization's culture is actually represented in those behavioral means. So following the thinking that started from the Selfish Gene book by Richard Dawkins, where he defined memes in the first place, and which has been part of our popular terminology and popular culture ever since. The important thing is that in all of these definitions that we are using, it is always something active. Culture requires some kind of an act, some kind of a behavior that is visible in the organization. Next, when we think and talk about experiences, we always assume experiences to be evolutionary. It is very seldom the case that you can dream an ideal culture. You are able to define an ideal culture in such a precision that it would just be a matter of implementation for the organization to replicate that experience to someone. So almost always great experiences are evolutionary. They are created little by little, taking small steps after small steps and going towards a better experience. Not saying that it's ideal, because it can always be perhaps slightly better. When you start, you don't even necessarily know how the end result will look like. But you just need to have the courage to take that first step and then followed by a lot of other steps. When we think about evolutionary process, there are basically 4 steps that need to be in place. First of all, there needs to be variation. If you just repeat the same thing over and over again, you don't have any variation, you don't have any evolution either. Doing the same thing results in the same results, always. Secondly, you need to have feedback. You need to have some means of understanding how those targets of your actions are feeling. Those can be your customers or those can be your employees, people around you in the organization. You need to have some ways of understanding how are they feeling after a certain experience. You need to be able to select, so you need to be able to compare different variations and the feedback you are getting from them in order for you to select those variations which are leading to the best result in regards to your target experience. And lastly, you need to be able to replicate. Replicate that experience that had the best result in further experiences with the same or different targets, and also replicate certain ways of generating those experiences, let's say from one organizational part to another organizational part. So the 4 steps of evolution: variation, feedback, selection, and replication. Now that we know that culture is in the behaviors, it's in the interactions between people, and we know that great experiences are created in an evolutionary way, what kind of cultural elements need to have in the organization that will allow us to succeed in creating these experiences? Those are the elements that we call the experience culture. First of all, and it all starts from empathy. We've all heard a lot about empathy. We've all heard how empathy is the key skill of humans in the 21st century. As the author Mohsin Hamid has nicely put it, empathy is about finding echoes of another person in yourself. And how do we do that? One interesting topic to study is basically something that is called conscious listening. It's about being present in your interactions with other people, trying to really focus and understand what those people are telling you. For example, you can search for Julian Treasure and some of the things he has been doing and some of his TED Talks, for example, on conscious listening. But all in all, it seems that this is the kind of attribute that has been actually diminishing recently. And for us to succeed with empathy, we need to bring a lot of more consciousness back into our discussions, back into way how we are interacting and listening to other people. Myself, I want always to, in a way, emphasize the genuine interest towards other people's feelings. And not just genuine interest, but always trying to get as raw, as pure information on those feelings as possible. Not just looking through reports, not just looking through numbers. Sometimes those are good, and sometimes they complement your picture pretty well. But it's always good to go, one or two steps further, trying to hear it firsthand. Have an interview, talk to these people, listen to what they have to say. Then you are showing genuine interest on what they have to say. The picture you are painting so much more colors than any report could be conveying. Secondly, it's about transparency. In the first, it might seem that being honest, being transparent can be somehow even harmful for yourself on the short term. But as Mother Teresa has said it really well, the payback on the long term will be so much more higher than the cost you need to pay, that it still is worthwhile to be honest and transparent, even though sometimes it hurts. It's not a new topic. It's been around for a long time. It's been debated, like again, referring, for example, to Brené Brown and the message she has been giving us and the presentations about vulnerability and authenticity. Definitely worth checking related to this topic. So it's about having humane connections to others. Being present in those discussions, being present in those interactions as our true selves. Having the courage to be our true selves. But not just that, I would also like to highlight that it also applies to information. So it should be default that information is free, that information is made available to people in the organization. And you need to think your ways of collecting and storing and disseminating that information. First, from the perspective that how can you allow as many people as possible access to that information. And then, only as an exception, you should be limiting access to information due to some security or due to some privacy or due to some legal reasons. From transparency, we make a very short leap to psychological safety. You've all heard this many times, and it was especially made famous in the recent years by the studies made by Google, but it's not exactly that new of a phenomenon. It has been researched at least until end of 80s. To define what psychological safety is, I think the one from Amy Edmondson from 90s is a pretty good one. It states that psychological safety is a belief that we will not be punished or humiliated if we speak up. Last year, Timothy R. Clark wrote even a book called The 4 Stages of Psychological Safety. And those 4 stages on your journey to higher levels of psychological safety are, first of all, inclusion safety. So, feeling that you are genuinely a part of a team, that you are welcomed as yourself to be part of that team. Learner safety. So that we feel that it's safe for us to learn together, admitting that we don't know everything yet, and we are actually here together in this team to figure out, to learn, to grow. Thirdly, it's about contributor safety. So how do I feel safe to open my mouth, to contribute in the discussions we're having with my own viewpoints? And lastly, on the 4th stage, it's about challenger safety. So, do we have an environment where it's okay to challenge other people's viewpoints, where it's even expected that our viewpoints get challenged, and we can have constructive dialogue, constructive discussion on any topic within the team that we have? Next, if you read this paragraph, I bet many of you have a fairly clear understanding on who might be behind these words. Yes, so these are some of Charles Darwin's ideas, and the wording is from a scholar, Leon C. Megginson. But the idea is that in order for a species or an organization for that matter to survive in this game of evolution, it's all about adapting, it's all about adjusting. As a playwright and author and poet, Jessica Hagedorn has said it, adaptability is the simple secret of survival. And for us, the 4th dimension, the 4th cultural dimension of strong experience culture is adaptability. So that by definition, we believe that it's not good to stay the same. We are constantly striving to be different tomorrow than we are today. We are constantly striving to find ways how we could adapt to the environment which is changing around us. Last, Daniel H. Pink has said that control leads to compliance, autonomy leads to engagement. So autonomy is playing an important part. If we are relying too much on control, if we are taking too much away from people's freedom to act, to do things, we are at the same time taking a lot away from their creativity as well. So having enough autonomy means that you have people around you who will take initiative, who are experimenting with different approaches, who are creating those variations that the evolution requires, and then honestly seeing if they work or if they don't, and reacting accordingly. So we are defining at the moment experience culture by 5 different elements that needs to be in place in order for any organization to be able to succeed with customer or employee experiences: empathy, transparency, psychological safety, adaptability, and autonomy. Now, coming to the COVID-19 situation, it's good to keep in mind that what we are going through at the moment, it is an experience. It is an experience for us as fathers and mothers and daughters and sons, friends. It is an experience for us as consumers, and it is an experience for us as employees, members of those teams within the organizations. And these experiences that we have, they contain, of course, a lot of different elements. They might contain fear. They might contain isolation. They might contain loneliness. They might contain insecurity, worry. How am I going to not survive, but how will I be doing tomorrow? Will I have my work? Will I have my health? Will some of my closest people be faced by the illness and the virus? How are we as an organization and as a human race or a nation, how are we going to cope with all of this? So it's creating a lot of feelings and a lot of experiences, and many of these experiences can be negative. I'm not trying to say that all of the experiences will be negative. There will be a lot of positive experiences. There will be a lot of team spirit. There will be a lot of resilience. There will be a lot of hope. But I think that it is our reactions to the negative experiences that will, to a large extent, define how are we going to go on with our experience culture during these times of COVID-19. So it's about how do you react? What is it that you are bringing into the workplace, into those online team meetings, into all of those discussions that you are having with your team members, your colleagues? So what are the actions that you do, and what kind of culture are those reflecting? In other words, you could ask that, what kind of behavioral memes are you amplifying? Are you amplifying the right behavioral memes that will help you to succeed with all these different experiences and feelings you are seeing around you in your teams? Are you at the same time, when you are helping people cope with the current situation, are you at the same time strengthening and amplifying exactly those elements of your culture that will make you better and stronger to and be able to create great experiences in the future as well? So we could ask that, how is your empathy? Are you genuinely listening what people around you are saying? Are you showing interest? Are you asking questions? Are you showing compassion to what kind of emotional states your colleagues are going through? Are you transparent? Are you transparent about yourself? Are you expecting everyone else to be transparent? Are you making sure that all kinds of information and news, whether those are good or bad, they are available to everyone? Are you creating psychological safety? Is it okay to be around you and be your genuine self, with all the good things we all carry, but also all the bad things that we automatically carry with ourselves? Adaptability. Are we hiding our heads in the bushes, or are we acknowledging the fact that the world is changing, the environment around us is changing really rapidly? Are we adapting? Are we trying to find a new balance quickly when we are faced with yet another strike? Autonomy. Do you have, and do people around you have the autonomy to make those decisions regarding their own work and the services that they are providing, for example, to your clients? So having empathy, transparency, psychological safety, adaptability, and autonomy in your mind, focusing your actions to build these during the crisis, will actually at the same time build you a culture that can make you hugely successful with the experiences you are able to create in the future as well. So thank you for your attention today. Thank you for your interest. If you are interested in continuing discussing these topics, First of all, you can send me email, or if you want, we can connect in LinkedIn and continue these discussions over there. So stay safe and have a nice week, everyone. Thank you.